HitFilm Sensei here. Today in this video, we are going to create this dogfight completely from scratch using HitFilm Pro version 6. All right, so I am in HitFilm Pro version 6.0712, etc., etc. This is the new version of HitFilm version 6 without any updates as of yet, okay? And this video, we are going to use a new feature that you will find in HitFilm Pro, and that is the behaviors effect, and that is found only in 6 and up. So what are the behaviors? Let's create a new composite shot, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new point layer, okay? And this point layer, I'm just going to keyframe some movement to it. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to keyframe the position. I'll move it forward a few seconds, and I'm going to move it over here. I'll move it forward some more. I'm just going to randomly create, some movement here. Okay, so now I have this point that is, moving along a curve based on the keyframes that I put it on, okay? So what I want to do is I want to create a new point, all right? And that one, by the way, is the follow point. Okay, so that point is the point we're going to follow. This new point is going to contain the behavior effect that we're going to use. So I'm going to twirl this open, and you can see there's a new thing. It's behaviors here, and I'm going to click this little plus icon, and there are all kinds of behaviors that we can choose from. We are going to choose the follow layer only behavior, okay? Twirling that open, we're going to target the follow point, okay? Now, interestingly, this point does not actually follow the follow point. All it does is contain the data to follow that point, okay? So what I would do is I would move my behavior point where I want to start it, say for instance there, okay? And then I'm going to create another point, a third point, and that point will actually be the position point, and I'm going to parent that point to the behavior point. Now, if I were to zero out the position of that, then it will be sitting exactly on the follow point, and it will exhibit the following behavior. So if I start, then you'll see that this point is following the other point, and it's following it wherever it goes, you see? So that is the behavior that we are going to use to create one spaceship, following or chasing another spaceship. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right, so we're going to create a new composite shot. In this composite shot, I am actually going to make 60 seconds long. I want it to be really long. And the reason I want it to be really long is because I want to be able to choose from lots of footage within that 60 seconds for my 10-second shot of this massive dogfight going on. And we're going to make a bunch of these, okay? So this composite shot will actually be dogfight footage, right, number 01, okay? Just so that I can, name it and know it, okay? All right. Whoops, I meant to do this. All right. So I'm going to create a camera, and it creates a three-dimensional space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it from the top point of view, and I'm going to back up so that you can see the entire playing field here, if you will. We'd like to call it a playing field. And I'm just going to back this camera up, okay? All right, so we're going to start by creating a new point, and that point is going to be three-dimensional, so it appears here in our three-dimensional space. And this point will be the center control point, okay? This will be the point that everything else sort of revolves around, and it is going to move over this 60 seconds, but not much. So I'm just going to keyframe the position, go to the end, and then I'm going to move it, say there, okay? And this will change for every, chasing scene that I make, okay? And I'll show you how that works after I've made the chasing scene, okay? So now I just have this It's just moving, okay? The other thing is, though, I'm going to keyframe the rotations of the X, Y, and Z because I want this really erratic rotation. So I'm just going to put in some random numbers. I'm going to go, say, 20. That's a big number, right? 15, and let's go with 19, okay? So now what happens is that thing is just kind of turning and twisting and rotating around as it is moving across, okay? And I may change those numbers as well for every single one that I'm using, okay? So that's going to be sort of the center control point that controls the action for everything. Now I'm going to make a new point, and this point is going to be three-dimensional also, and it will be the follow point, okay? And the follow point, I am going to move, let's just put it here, and then I'm going to parent it to the center control point. Okay, so now as the center control point moves, it's going to move, and it's just going to erratically kind of fly around like this, you see, all over the place. All right, that's the idea. Okay, so that's the follow point. Now I'm going to create another point, three-dimensional, and I'm going to move it over here near the point that needs to be followed, and this new point is going to actually be the behavior point. And whoops, might help if I spell it correctly, behavior point. And I am going to attach the behavior that I want, which is a follow behavior, and I'm going to follow the follow point. Okay, then I'm going to make one more point, and again, it's three-dimensional. And this point will be the chased ship position point, okay? And I'm going to parent it to the behavior point, and I will close out or zero out, all of the data. Okay, so now the chased ship position point is flying around, and it's following that follow point. You see how that works? Erratically flying around, okay? Now, if I had Action Pro, I could actually create sort of an organic movement of this ship, but this will do for now. But I think I'll do a bonus video in relationship to this one where I talk about how to use Action Pro to create an even more organic flight movement, okay? But this ship is flying around, and that is going to be my ship, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to go back to the camera view, and there is that ship, and it's flying around all kinds of crazy places, okay? So there, it is in the middle of a dogfight. He's running for his life, okay? Now, the problem is that while it's moving around, it's not actually turning or twisting, right? It's not angling or aligning towards the direction that it should be flying. So what I'm going to do is under the controls, I am going to layer properties, alignment, and I'm going to say align towards a layer, and the layer I'm going to align to is going to be the follow point. So now if you watch the blue arrow of this chase ship point, it is going to turn and twist and spin towards the direction that it's heading, you see? And that's going to look really cool when we add a spaceship to it, okay? Which is what we're going to do right now. So I have imported Viper, okay? And if you actually look at the Viper, you can see that it's facing away from us, and it should be facing towards us, but the way this model was built is it was facing away from us. So that will be important when I actually bring this Viper in, okay? What I need to do is I'm going to twirl it open, and under Models, Viper, I am going to transform it from the chased ship position point. I am going to zero out everything so that it is sitting exactly on that, but I am going to rotate it 180 degrees on its y-axis, okay? Now we have this Viper that's out there that is flying around in this fashion, okay? Now, if this Viper was really, really big, let's say, for instance, I transform the scale up to 500 times its normal size, it would look really dorky because the turning and movement of it would not be to scale of the Viper, okay? In this case, it's actually a little bit too big even at 100, so I'm just going to knock it down to about 50% of its normal, and this is sort of something that you would want to kind of figure out on your own, right? But you figure out, oh, this thing is flying around and it's spinning and twisting and turning. How fast would it go relative to its size and things like that, okay? All right, so now we have the ship that is being chased. What we need now is the ship that is going to do the chasing. So I'm going to go back to the top view again, and I'm going to create another new point, and it will be 3D. And that new point I'm going to call the behavior of the chasing ship, okay? And I'm going to attach a behavior to it. And it's a follow behavior, and this time we're going to follow the chased ship position point, okay? Now I want to go ahead and put this over here somewhere behind the chased ship position point, and then that contains the movement data. Now all I need to do is create one more point, and this is the last point, and it will be the chasing ship position point, okay? And I will parent that to the behavior point. And again, I want to zero out all of the data there, okay? And just like the other one, I want that to point towards the other, point. I want it to point towards the direction that's going. So under Controls, Layer Properties, Alignment towards a layer, and we're going to align it towards the chased ship position point. So now, if I look at that, let me go back to the active camera, you can see that that one will actually chase that ship. See how it's chasing that ship, right? Oh, that looks really cool. So just for ease of use, I am going to name this Viper the chased Viper. Then I will bring in another Viper, and I'm going to call this one the chasing Viper, okay? And just like before, under Models, Viper, Transform, I am going to transform from the chasing ship position point. I need to zero out all of these points, everything, and I do need to rotate it 180 degrees. And last but not least, I want it to be 50% also. So now I have one ship that is chasing the other ship just like that, and it can be shooting at it or firing at it and things like that, okay? All right, so now I have all this data, okay, a minute's worth of data here, all right? So what I can now do is take this dogfight footage and duplicate it, okay? And I can, let's call this dogfight 2, and we'll bring it up. And what I'm now going to do is the original center control point. Let me go back to a top view. I can very quickly change everything. Okay, so now the position point, maybe I'll move the position point up here. And then at the end, I will move the position point to come down this direction. Okay, just so it's different. And also, let's change these numbers. Let's make this 25. Let's make this 10. And let's make this 23. Okay, so they're just different numbers now. All right. So now if we go and look at this active camera, now we have a completely different chasing fight that's happening here. Okay, a completely different one. Then if I want to bring in another one, I can change it again and again. I can make as many of these as I want, right? Then it's a simple matter of creating a new composite shot. And this time I'm only going to make this composite shot 10 seconds long, because that'll be the length of my shot, although it could be any length that I want it to be. And then I would bring in my dogfight footage from this. So I'm going to say, ready, copy, and paste it here in the 10-second timeline, like that. Okay. And then I might bring in the dogfight footage from this one and say copy and I might paste it in, let's say, there. Okay. And you know what? It's going to get real confusing which ones are which here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new plane layer, and I'm going to call this divider. Okay. And that plane layer, which is sitting right here, I'm going to put in between everything. Okay. And the deal on this is, oh, by the way, I only need one camera, so I can probably go ahead and take that camera out. And I think I'll move the camera up to the very top, just so that way it's there. But my divider plane, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it real small, and I'm going to hide it, okay, so that you can't see it. But that way it puts a gap in between my two different sets here, okay? And I might copy or duplicate that and then drop it down here again, right? That way I have something else below that, you know, and I can put another one below and that sort of a thing, okay? But the point is that now I have a couple of different angles of shots of ships flying around on each other and things like that, okay? Now, could I take this one and slide it? Because I have plenty of room to do that, don't I? Yeah, I sure do. Okay, so now I have multiple, you know, dog fights happening here and so on and so forth, right? So I could add in, you know, 50 of these different things, and you would have this really crazy dog fight happening where all these ships are flying around chasing each other and so on and so forth. Now, the only thing we haven't done is what? Have them shoot at each other, okay? So let's do that, all right? I am going to just go back to my original dogfight footage, okay? So now if I wanted to actually shoot, you know, one ship shooting at another, all I need to do is search for the phaser effect, okay? If I drop the phaser effect in here, the first thing you need to know about the phaser effect is it really only lasts about 15 frames. So you just go until it's gone, right? And then you can slice it and remove the rest of it, okay? Because you don't need any more than that, okay? Now, if you want to mess around with the phaser effect, you want to change some of the things. Maybe you want it to be red. You could change that. Maybe you want it to have no stars on it. Maybe you want it to be a little bit, you know, I'm going to break the scale and just make it longer, okay, so that it shoots out further, kind of a thing. All right, so there's your phaser effect, okay? And then all you have to do is just parent that phaser effect to your actual chasing ship position point, okay? So what you do is you say chasing ship position point, and then zero out all the numbers, like this, okay, and zero out, well, not that. And then you can take that and just place it, or it will automatically place itself where it needs to go, okay? Now make sure that it's still pointing in the right direction. Sometimes it might be pointing in a weird direction, okay, and you definitely don't want that. After you've added in all your laser beams and shooting going back and forth, then you can add a background of stars and some camera movement, and then you'll have something that looks like this. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. If you would like to keep up with the latest tutorial videos from HitFilm Sensei, consider liking the HitFilm Sensei Facebook page, following the HitFilm Sensei Twitter feed, and subscribing to the HitFilm Sensei YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. A new video comes out every Friday and Monday, and thanks for your support.